Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope someone is having a happy Monday. It's been a little bit of crazy on this side. Kind of goes along with managing expectations. All right. So today's talk is about great expectations. And honestly, there are so many different types of expectations inventors have to deal with. We could talk about this all week. So I'm going to try to focus on the highlights. All right. So great expectations. And you think you want to make a profit. Does anybody ever get, and actually I'm going to correct that. Yes, I have seen people want to take a product to market just for the good of mankind and throw it out there and let anybody and everybody use it. Fine. All right. Okay, that's fine. Most of my clients, not really in that category. They want people to use it. They want people to like it. They want people to talk about it, but they also want to make a profit. All right. So how do we make sure that you fall into the profit category and help you manage expectations? So reality is a good licensing deal for someone, all right, 5% of wholesale. And you get to go quarterly and put that money in the bank. But I get people on the front side of this who tend to be a little on the naive side or the greedy side. Yes, whichever one fits you, where they think you're just going to make a ton of money. Well, that's not the way it works. There's a lot that goes into inventing. So when I hear somebody say, oh, we're going to get VC investing, there are a lot of strings on that. Venture capital is hard stuff. Besides the fact that you've gone out the door now with probably $250,000, $300,000 of your own money, possibly from some investors. Guess what? They want to make a profit. They expect to make a profit or they would not have given you the money. VCs expect to make a profit. You are lucky when you go that route. If you get to put anything in the bank, you are frequently squeezed out. That is the reality of venture capital. I would rather have you know that now rather than later. Managing your expectations. It is really important to understand the scope of what's going on. All right, Archimedes Offspring. As president and CEO of Archimedes Offspring, I talk about this with a variety of groups. I'm going to ski in DC next week and talk about the launch of AOS and what we do for inventors. When we walk you through the mentoring process and the AOS, we do the vetting, and then as we're helping tee you up, we're mentoring you. We're saying, okay, here's the next step. Here's the service providers that we know. If you've got others that you want us to consider, that's fine. The money that you are going to receive for this goes into an escrow account, and then service providers are paid directly from that account. That is very, very different than venture capital or other investors. Other investors yank on your chain constantly. You know what? Our investors are going to yank on my chain, all right? Not on your chain. I might yank on your chain a little bit, but you know what? I'm in this with you. So we're managing expectations on both sides of that, yours and the investors. When you deal with an angel investor, and believe me, they are really hard to find. Might be a family member. Not such a good idea because when you don't get around to paying them back timely or the amount they expect, they become angry. And that makes a really tough holiday dinner. Just got to be honest with you. All right. In order to get bank financing, all right, you are giving up a second mortgage on your house, 401k, other investments that you might have. Not necessarily the wisest move. This is hard. It's hard work. And when you think, oh, I'm just going to throw all this money at it, there are things that are barriers for you that you don't even realize yet. So the smart folks say, well, instead of using all of my money to do this, I'm going to use someone else's money to do this. Okay, that's a smart move. But whose money is it going to be? If it's the banks, they've got something they're holding over on you. And that's not a good spot to be because they expect payments to start coming back on that loan right now, next month. In an inventing world, that's right now. because you know what? You're not going to have any income from that for 2 years. Well, the bank payment started next month. That's tough. Angels, they ride you and tell you what you can do. All right. So now you've got these other players out here. You're still dealing with the multiple of 5. And that means if it's a $10 retail, all right, the store bought it from you for 5. All right. Or more likely, they bought it from a distributor for $2.50. Let me back up and say that again. Store is going to sell it, all right, for 10. They bought it for 5. If they bought it from a distributor, the distributor bought it from you for $2.50. If they bought it from you, they may have paid 5. Sometimes you can get like Amazon, all right, they're not going to take as much. All right, you might see more of that margin if you're doing it there, but you still can't sell them all yourself. So if you're dealing with the multiple of 5 and you have the idea that you're going to get into a big box store, they squeeze you. They squeeze you. You are lucky if you are taking home 50 cents per unit. And the hard part on that is that if you've got to have a separate lawyer, a separate accountant, if you've got to hire somebody that's going to oversee the manufacturing, if you've got to hire someone to do the marketing for you, because you're keeping your day job because you've got to pay for this and all the other family expenses. So when you start breaking it down, that 50 cents per unit, that's a tough one, because you don't go out the door selling millions of units a year. You might go out the door selling 10,000. Well, when you start breaking that down, that's not very much, right? And there are going to be some expenses you have to cover that would just be everyday packaging, all right? Packaging. And you don't get to hike the price up on the product every time an expense comes in. Product liability insurance, right? A licensee pays for all of that. The licensee covers everything on that. So at Archimedes Offspring, when we say we're looking at licensing the product or being able to sell the intellectual property, that happens sometimes, but more or less it's going to be licensing most often. It's because we know that teeing up $75,000 is about what it takes for a product to be teed up for licensing. We're going to cover those front-end costs for you. So now you're going to get a royalty check. It still takes time. And especially if you've got a seasonal product. If you've got a summer lawn product, it is going to be 2 to 3 years before that shows up on a Home Depot shelf, just because they're that far out in their orders. And I know I've got a gentleman now, very cool product. It's selling well on Amazon. It just really yanks his investors' chain that they're not going to be in the stores until 2022. Because the stores have already made their purchases. There's no more room on the shelf. It has nothing to do with what the licensee is doing and everything to do with what the stores have already purchased. Expectations. We need to manage expectations. You need to manage them for anybody on your team. I help you understand what those expectations are. So when we look at managing expectations, everybody I deal with wants to make a profit, or you don't come to me. Archimedes Offspring, everybody wants to make a profit on the inventor side and the investor side. We expect to make a profit, all right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's part of the American way, right? But managing how that's going to happen is critical to your success. So when you look at the idea of, one, you've got to have some money. You either have deep pockets of your own or you want some help. That said, where are you going to go and get help? Loans are not the answer because they expect to be paid back right away. Investors in VC, they take too big a bite out of you. Archimedes Offspring, all right? You're still going to keep right around 80% control of everything. We are going to advise you. We are going to help you. We are taking the risk with you. We want you to get a check every quarter that you put into the bank. We don't want you going to the bank to take money out all the time. Right? We want someone help doing the heavy lifting. Some of the other talks this week are about how Archimedes Offspring helps make the burden lighter. So tune in tomorrow. We've got topics all this week. Thursday is the only day I take off because I go and I meet my inventors. So I will see you tomorrow. And if you've got any questions about this at all, check in with me, Rita at ArchimedesOffspring.com. ArchimedesOffspring.com is the website. Don't get caught in the spin of great expectations by yourself by other investors, or for heaven's sakes, by a bank that expects you to pay something back next month that you haven't even gotten done throwing money at. So manage your expectations. I'm here to help you.